Week 4 of the offseason recap. This week went very well. Adherence to the plan was on point. Training sessions went great. I noticed towards the tail end of the week, I started to get a lot more fatigued than I'd like. So I may have to adjust volume, but I'm hoping that's not the case because boy, do I love training and I don't want to have to do less in the gym. We started the week on Sunday with legs, which went great except for the fact that right before my top set of hack squats, I dropped a 45-pound plate on my toe. And it bled. And it hurt. Monday, we hit shoulders and arms. My shoulders were not feeling the best. They felt a little bit iffy. I skipped my physical therapy work because I think I was overdoing it just a little bit. So we rested the shoulders. I did end up trying a new upright row form where I'm a little bit more upright and had my hands wider apart. Felt really good. No pain, no pinching, none of that. So I think I'm going to stick with that. I tried the lat pull down station for face pulls and it felt okay, but when I did it again on Friday, it felt awful. I think it's just too high of an angle to be pulling from. I don't really feel it in my upper back or in my delts. It just feels like a wonky lat pull down. So we're going to go back to using a cable row machine instead. For dumbbell lateral raises, I actually saw this variation where you do them on an inclined bench, but instead of laying on it with your chest, you're leaning back into it. I felt zero pain in my shoulders. I felt my side delts working a lot more than I do in a typical standing lateral raise. So I think we're going to rock with that variation as well. Wednesday was chest and back, but this is where the energy really started to drop off. This was the first session of the off season where I wasn't progressing like crazy. Now I did progress my lifts more towards the tail end of the session. I guess I got like a second wind or something, but I was really sluggish getting into it. My pull downs, my chest flies, I wasn't feeling it, you know? Part of me thinks I'm getting too sucked into the idea of making giant progressions every single week. And while it was definitely fun after my post-show rebound, I know it's not sustainable. I have to remind myself that I've been training for about 8 years now pretty consistently, so I'm not going to be able to get those newbie-like gains that, I got when I first started training. For my new approach, I'm still going to try to progress some way, whether it be reps or weight on my first set, but then I'm going to start doing back off sets where I lower the weight pretty significantly and focus more on control and the squeeze. That way I get both sides of the coin. I get one set where I'm really just trying to move weight and one set where I'm really just trying to contract the muscle. Thursday's leg day was honestly awful. I forgot my belt and I was so excited to attempt a 5-plate hack squat, and I am not trying that without a belt. That is, hernia central right there. I even took extra pre-workout for absolutely nothing. That entire workout was leg extensions, hips, isolation exercises. It was just very mid, not a great time. Very excited to hit legs next week when we attempt that 5-plate hack squat. But hey, I'm going to be optimistic. Maybe it's for the best. My back was a little tight that day and I was feeling fatigued from the day prior. So maybe attempting a lift like that was not in the cards for that day. I did an extra set of leg extensions to compensate, playing around with single leg versus double leg, and I think I'm going to stick with single leg. Not to flex, but I'm a relatively strong guy in the leg department, so it's just hard to hold myself into the seat and do the weight that's required, and Lord knows I am not doing 20 reps of leg extensions. Doing them single leg is just a much smarter way to be able to progress in that 8 to 12 rep range while being able to actually anchor myself into the machine. Finishing the week off was shoulders and arms on Friday. My arm work was feeling a little bit iffy. As I'm getting stronger, my wrists are starting to ache a little bit more than I'd like, and the rope attachment I was using on hammer curls was just digging way too hard into my wrist. I have a wrist cuff that I'm going to start bringing to the gym. I'm going to experiment with some single arm work, maybe some single arm tricep extensions, single arm hammer curls, and see if that fixes the issue while still letting me train hard. Thankfully, my shoulder stuff felt amazing. All of my side delt and rear delt work went really well. No pain, no discomfort, lots of progressions. So I'll take that side of the coin. Training-wise, going forward, I'm going to see how I feel. If next week I'm still fatigued going into my lifts, I'm going to have to unfortunately reduce my volume, which I don't want to do. I love training. I finally got my program to a sweet spot where I'm lifting for about an hour and 15 minutes and then posing for 10 to 15 minutes. But I'll do what I got to do. If I will progress better and grow more muscle by training less, unfortunately, I'll just do that. On the bright side, diet was significantly better this week. Not only am I at a point where I'm not constantly hungry and craving and feeling the need to snack or eat food, I genuinely feel like I could stick to my meal plan without even wanting to deviate. My average weigh-in was 163.8 this week, which is about 8.5 pounds up from show. And while this is a little bit higher than I would like it to be, I will take it for the fact that I'm not super craving. I am not super hungry. I'm starting to feel a lot more normal. So if that's the trade-off where I have to accept a higher body fat percentage and a higher weight, so be it. This is something that me and my two clients that also did the show with me have all been kind of talking about recently, that, man, it's hard going from peak shreds to seeing yourself gain a little bit of body fat, seeing the scale go up, but that's what you got to do to grow. You know, you can't hold on to that stage look forever, and that's what you got to remind yourself after a show. I am Catholic, so I try to do the whole no meat on Fridays thing, which means tonight we are doing sushi as our cheat meal, which will be the only cheat meal for the weekend. I also made a very small bump in food, but it's pretty much negligible. I added in peppers to my meal plan, which was around 20 to 30 calories, and then I added in a whopping singular ounce of white rice to one of my meals. Doesn't sound like a lot, that's because it's not a lot, but I would rather add in 50 calories here and there than just shoot up my food to 200 and gain body fat if I don't need to. Bodybuilding, especially natural bodybuilding, is a game of, honestly, millimeters, not even inches. It is a game of millimeters. So stacking up those very, very small increments, those small wins over long periods of time, that is how you grow. You can't speed run any growth. You can't speed run your cut. You got to take your time. I made this mistake last offseason where I was trying to force growth by forcing progression and force feeding food. Whole lot of forcing going on, and all it did was get me fat and injured. So this offseason, we're keeping the calories a lot more moderate, we're keeping the load a lot more moderate, and focusing more on execution and consistency.